comes to mind as a mother is, I have a daughter who's 28. So I grew up myself in an environment which deals actually with war. My father was in the Indian Army. However, the amazing thing about the Indian Army was that all of us grew in an environment where we were multi-religious. In the sense that every unit had a temple, had a Gurudwara, a Sikh Gurudwara, it had a church, it also had somewhere where Muslim troops could go and pray. So I think because of that, almost, or let's say every one of us, while we knew that our fathers and the people, the men around us went out for, like they went out in wars and they defended the country and all of that. But when it came to religion, we grew up as children who deeply respected each religion. And I think that really comes about from this fact. And that is where I think each one of us, each woman in this room needs to be responsible for really is, what kind of an identity are we giving our children? So if the identity if it's an identity based solely on the outward whatever the show of religiousness is, so maybe putting a kind of a bindi here, or maybe like the clothes that I wear, or what I'm carrying in my hand. If the only identity we give our children as women is religious, we can be sure they're going to grow up fearing other religions, fearing other cultures, fearing things that need not be feared upon. For example, even interacting with people of different religions. My belief truly is that if the identity is based on human values, if it is based on what each one of us, like Bhupendra just said, each one of us, each woman in this room, men as well, I'm sure, are looking for peace, we're looking for support, we're looking for the values of decency, basic human decency. So when all of that is the same, the one thing that I think we all go back and change is, what kind of very, very conscious effort are we putting into giving an identity to our children, whatever the age that it could be. What are we trying to tell them? Are we telling them that the differences are not based on religions or on seemingly different aspects of life, but differences really come from us not knowing enough about other cultures, about other religions, about what we call erroneously as class, color, creed, etc.
But one question which comes to my mind before you pick up. You're trying to suggest that religion could very well end up becoming a tool for people to come together, right?
Absolutely.
But in reality, look at what religion does.
Yes.
My question to you is, and I ask this question to myself sometimes, that for instance, in Hindu religion, we wear a sacred thread around our wrist, which is supposed to bring good luck to us. Now, one of these days, while I was doing a television program, inadvertently, I didn't realize that I had the thread around my wrist. And a viewer pointed out that, listen, when you are addressing people across the country, do not display your religious identity. Now, my question to you, therefore, is that what works better? An open display of religious identity will bring people closer, help us understand each other's religious viewpoints, or should we shun this open display of religious identity, religiosity?
So if we talk about openly shunning, any identity, religious identity, we're looking at something that perhaps is going to hurt people. One. Second, perhaps is not doable. Maybe a certain section of people may be able to look at it and say, okay, yes, I'm going to take this forward, and that's great if they can do it. But I do know that really for women, all of us over here are women who perhaps right now live a little more privileged lives. I work a lot with women who really do not have even the option of not displaying those. It's a part of their, they would perhaps, their bones would be broken, for example, if they would be dressing up any differently. And so the problem is not in the person perhaps who's dressing up differently. It is in the perception of the people who are perceiving them to be different.